Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakarin. Vice President Kamala Harris will be here in Atlanta today, of course, on the campaign trail, trying to win voters in this swing state, an all-important state in the upcoming election. So this is actually her first stop in Georgia since becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee. Atlanta News First Asia Wilson is here in Atlanta ahead of the vice president's visit.
According to the Harris for President campaign, they're seeing a surge in the amount of people signing up to engage with the campaign. In fact, more than 7,500 people have joined the campaign on the ground in the state in 1 week. Today's rally will be her 15th visit to the state since becoming vice president and her 6th visit so far this year. And it will be her first visit since President Biden dropped out of the presidential election, elevating her to the role of presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. She was just here in June speaking at the 100 Black Men Conference, a gun violence summit with Atlanta rapper Quavo, and a Juneteenth celebration. Now, with less than 100 days to the election, polling shows a slim margin between Harris and GOP nominee Donald Trump. And an Emerson poll placed Trump ahead by 2 points in Georgia. Now, party leaders believe voters are really paying attention this go round due to the shakeup.
We have seen young people very excited. We've seen black voters excited.
The enthusiasm and energy on the part of Republican voters is through the roof. I mean, I've never really seen it like this before.
The Democratic National Convention is about 2 weeks away in Chicago, and Harris is expected to pick her running mate within the next week or so before that convention. Now, we're also hearing from rapper Megan Thee Stallion, who says that she will be here in Atlanta, expected to make an appearance at Vice President's event. In Midtown, Asia Wilson, Atlanta News First.
Thanks so much to Asia for that report. Of course, we're going to bring you full coverage of the vice president's visit to Atlanta. Meanwhile, a new judge on the massive YSL RICO case is now taking the bench. He has been reviewing motions throughout the morning. And this new judge over the state's longest criminal trial is now the third judge on the case. Her name is Judge Paige Reese Whitaker. She replaced Judge Shakira Ingram, who recused herself less than a day after taking over for Judge Ural Glanville, of course, who was removed from the case. And let me show you a live look inside the courtroom right now. And I want to let you know that if you want to watch this trial live, we do have gavel-to-gavel coverage, again, streaming live on our secondary stream. So that's our special event stream. This is a live look inside the courtroom right now. You see the gentleman talking right there. That's Brian Steele. He is the attorney for Young Thug, real name Jeffrey Williams, who's accused of essentially being the head honcho in this case and being the ringleader of an alleged criminal street gang. So as we're looking at Judge Whitaker on the bench right now, interesting to note that she really wasted no time this morning getting down to business, denying, I should say, a defense motion for a mistrial, as well as rejecting a request from Fulton County prosecutors to limit defense attorneys' ability to speak to the media, to us, not just us, but media in general. She's also deciding this week whether, whether Young Thug is going to be released on bond, along with several other motions ahead of the jury, possibly returning next week. So she began day 102, of on-the-record proceedings in this trial pretty promptly, 8:45 this morning, kind of a far cry from the previous judge overseeing this case, Judge Glanville, who often started a bit later in the morning. So again, you can watch this gavel to gavel on our special events stream here on Atlanta News First Plus. And of course, we're going to be following the latest and wrapping it up for you and bringing you updates throughout the day on our traditional over-the-air broadcast. All right. Let's talk about back to school time, because it is that time of year for some. And look at these little ones. They're practicing riding the bus. So in Cobb County, these students are just taking these next few days as the summer winds down and kind of getting a treat today. These are elementary school kids near Powder Springs and kindergarten students in Cobb County practicing riding the bus. Here's some video now from last year's ride-along. Parents get to go with their kindergartners and their new first graders all the way to school and back. They do this a couple days before school starts so that they can just get to know the bus driver, learn how to find that bus every day and when it's time to go home. And an older sister got to join her little brother on the ride along last year, and she told us the memories all came flooding back.
I remember me, being on the same exact bus. Like, I remember all my memories. Like, my first time losing my tooth, and I had like little box where shaked it, and I showed everybody, I lost my first tooth.
And Miss Shannon was right there, the same bus.
Oh my God, yes. She's my favorite. I love her so much.
So adorable. Okay, so school starts for them.
I
on
remember
Thursday.
me,
Oops.
being on the
Sorry,
same exact bus. Like, I
didn't mean to replay that for you again, but school starts on Thursday for those kids in Cobb County. All right, let's talk about this forecast. It definitely still feels like summer out there.
Yes.
Here is First Alert meteorologist Courtney Jacobazi.
Yes. Also, just to go back on that bus story that we had in Cobb County, the interviews with those kids just melted my heart.
So cute.
So cute.
So adorable.
I know they're probably anxious and excited and all of the emotions at one time. Just so cute. I think it's a great thing that Cobb County does. What a great way to get kids excited to go back, maybe a little less nervous. I remember, going to bed the night before the first day of school. You always get those first day kind of jitters and butterflies. So that's really, really cool what they do. And thankfully, as the kids go back in the next couple of days, the forecast will trend drier, something I think a lot of people can get behind after a really, really wet forecast over the past couple of weeks. In fact, I want to start with this. We picked up yesterday at the airport just over 0.6 of an inch of rain, and that added to our total for the month. Our grand total so far for the month of July being 13.35 inches of rain, which officially makes this July the fourth wettest July on record. Crazy stuff. The wettest July, we picked up just over 17 inches of rain, which I believe was back in '04. But nonetheless, this July definitely making its way into the record books by being the fourth wettest July so far. And thankfully, again, we're going to start to trend a little bit drier. Now, for today, we're going to be watching the thunderstorm complexes very much like we saw yesterday that brought the severe thunderstorm warnings, also caused some damage across parts of North Georgia. We'll be watching for another one of those tonight. Models really struggle with picking these things up because they're so small scale that kind of the grids that help create our model outputs, these little small thunderstorm complexes can kind of sneak their way in between those grids and make it really hard to forecast. So notice tonight at 5 o'clock, you see that complex over near Greenville, South Carolina. If that shifts a little further west, which there is a possibility of that, then that could make its way into North Georgia. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on kind of the progression of some of these little thunderstorm complexes that will develop tonight. Notice around 7, 8 o'clock, maybe another that could fall apart up in the mountains. So as you're making your way home from work, picking the kids up from school, some kids already off of summer break and into the classroom, just keep your eye on radar because there is the possibility for those storms to drop in from the north and potentially impact places, especially north of Atlanta. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center has given a lot of the area from Atlanta off to the northeast a level 2, a slight risk for severe storms, which essentially means scattered severe storms are possible. And that level 2 really just to account for that potential for one of those thunderstorm complexes to drop in and give us that long bowing line of damaging straight line winds that we saw along our storms yesterday. So this is kind of just a courtesy or just out of caution. That's probably the better way to put it. Just in case one of those complexes does shift a little further west and impact North Georgia, because again, they're really difficult to forecast. Some models earlier this morning was bringing a line of storms in through the evening hours and now kind of trending a little further to the east in the Carolinas. So something we'll be watching for you very carefully, a very fluid forecast when you get into a pattern like this. But thankfully, this pattern will be brief for us. High temperatures today, because we will be drier, we're going to see more sunshine. We'll climb into the upper 80s to low 90s. So it's been a little more than a week since we've been in the 90s. We're back there today. And with the humidity that I know you've noticed, it's going to feel even hotter. So take a look, 3 o'clock this afternoon, feeling more like the triple digits across most of Metro. Out to the east of the city, it's going to feel anywhere between 103 to 105, maybe as hot as 108 in Eatonton. And if you have any dinner plans tonight, temperatures still going to feel more like the 90s and feeling like the upper 90s east of the city. A really steamy evening ahead of us. Now, because the feels like temperatures will increase so greatly off to our east and to our south, areas of North Georgia and within our viewing area are under a heat advisory until 8 o'clock tonight for feels like like temperatures as high as 105, maybe even hotter. That does include Athens. That includes Oglethorpe County, all the way down into Putnam and Jasper County. That does include Lamar County. So I know Lamar County went back to school today. Just know that when the kids get picked up from school, it's going to be very hot. AC needs to be cranking in the car. I know a lot of the buses now, thankfully, have air conditioning as well. And that does extend into Upson County and Thomaston. And again, that goes until 8 o'clock tonight. Now, as we go through the rest of this week, we've had a ridge of high pressure that was building off to our west. And along that ridge, thunderstorms ride along that. We call it the ring of fire. Well, we were kind of in the bullseye of that ring of fire, that outer periphery of that high. Well, now it's starting to grow over us a little bit and flatten out. So those storms more than likely over the next couple of days will stay to our east. Today, we're kind of in that transition where that high is starting to grow. So again, it is possible that one of those thunderstorm complexes makes its way into North Georgia today, or tonight, I should say. But over the next couple of days, that ridge starts to grow over us, so that'll leave us drier. In fact, Thursday and Friday, just spotty storms, really mostly dry because of the humidity. We'll have those diurnal heat of the day, summer-like pop-up storms. And then Saturday, right now we are watching a cold front that will start to push in Saturday night. So that will bring a higher coverage of showers and storms Saturday night. Most of the day Saturday looks dry, but if you have any evening plans Saturday, just something to be mindful of. No first alert weather days on the horizon, but if Saturday looks increasingly stormy, we'll issue one for your Saturday night. And then Sunday, just a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. Let's quickly talk about the tropics. There's a wave that the National Hurricane Center is watching because it looks like it will start to develop a little more as we head into Friday, especially as it runs into more of the warmer water, also a little bit less in the ways of Saharan dust. And so as it moves into more favorable conditions to develop, it looks like it will get some legs. So the National Hurricane Center has a 60% chance of development now on this storm system, or on this wave, I should say, that could potentially turn into a tropical depression by the end of this week as it approaches parts of the Bahamas. And so notice they've kind of shifted the little outlook. If you were with us yesterday, this did extend into the Gulf Coast. Now it's looking more likely that this will more than likely go out into the Atlantic, potentially making an impact along the Atlantic coastline. So we'll be keeping an eye on this. Nothing of concern right now, nothing of immediate concern at least. Models are really struggling with it because this wave is so weak right now, but once it starts to get a little bit more traction, we'll be able to have a better idea of where it's going to go. So something we'll be watching for you as we do head into the time of year where we see the greatest uptick in activity. That's in August. As soon as we head into August, the water is usually very warm. As long as that Saharan dust kind of dissipates a little bit, which it is expected to, we should start to see an increase in tropical activity. August is usually when we get a lot of that. So here's a look at your first alert 7-day forecast. Temperatures in the 90s now. We had a whole week of 80s. Now it's all about the 90s. Low 90s today, feeling more like the triple digits. We'll watch for maybe one of those thunderstorm complexes to shoot south later tonight. Mainly after 4 o'clock is when we'll be watching that, but more than likely it'll clip the mountains or stay in South Carolina. But something we'll be tracking for you as we head into the evening tonight. And then tomorrow, maybe just a few thunderstorms before we end up in more of a summer-like pattern Thursday and Friday, and it's going to feel summer-like with highs back in the mid-90s. Saturday night, we'll be watching a cold front that will bring us a chance for storms on Saturday. Not going to cool us down all that much. We'll go back from the mid-90s to the low 90s to round out the weekend and kick off next week with just small rain chances Sunday. And it looks like Monday we will be completely dry. All right, everyone, thanks so much for sticking with us for your news headlines and your forecast. Be sure to stay here on Atlanta News First Plus throughout the day for any updates to stories. And of course, you can have that Atlanta News First Alert Weather app for updates on your forecast. Until next time, we will hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday.